Welcome to the Meat and Potatoes podcast. We're here with Sumner Douglas, who's the founder and CEO of Stack Homes. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today, Garrett?
I am very good. We are sitting in an office that is run and built by Stack, but this is Stack Homes.
Yep.
Different. The name was picked for a reason, and you're going to tell us about that.
Absolutely. So,
Go.
Stack Homes is a modular company, and so we are headquartered here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And what we specialize in building is steel frame modular homes. So we've got a couple different branches of the company where we really found our kind of roots for the company as ADUs, or additional dwelling units, started to expand, and the legalization of that started to expand throughout the western United States. We really looked at that as a great opportunity to increase density and to find some different solutions for housing across the board. And so we ended up creating a couple different interesting product lines with that. We created a ADU-based product line, so smaller square footage. We've got 320 square foot, 480, 640, 960 square foot, so smaller footprints that are really designed for modern, minimalistic, clean living from that perspective. And so we've got our ADU line, which is typically meant for increasing density in downtown areas, or in other areas where we're putting in pool houses or houses for kind of the elder generation in the backyards of other houses as well. And then we've got our custom home line as well. So what's really unique about our floor plans is you can stack them on top of one another. And so you can go multi-story high, and you can create ARM models and create full-scale custom homes with those. And then from there, we can also go all the way up to 5 stories tall. So we can stack those models on top of one another and create full-scale multifamily products. Recently, a couple weeks ago, we actually just did a new launch of our office product, which is really interesting. It doesn't require any permitting, no red tape to cut at the end of the day. You can order it in 5 weeks. You'll have a office, 120 to 200 square feet in your backyard, and it's a plug-and-play system. So it's been a really fun ride over the last couple of years as we kind of founded the company, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Let's give the website right now because this is a visually stimulating.
Yeah, it's stackhomes.com, just stackhomes.com. Check it out. We've got a lot of cool stuff, and if you want to check out some of our Instagram, you can see some of our crane ins, which is what people really tend to love, is kind of drone footage of, we just did a big crane in downtown Salt Lake City, and then last week we actually installed one at Bryant Head in a blizzard and 4 feet of snow.
Yeah. I love it because since the dawn of humankind, they figured out that I would rather build this and carry it with me. A tent, as an example, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather have these skins with me all the time than like go shoot the antelope, skin it, and make a tent every night.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see this a little bit with like these big warehouses going up. They go up fast because it's already built somewhere else. Shows up, 4 walls and a roof. So even a layman that's never worked in construction knows that if you can kind of just plug and play, it's going to be quicker.
Yeah, it's going to be much faster. I think the modular industry is really uniquely suited to solving a lot of the major problems we have with housing out there today. We've got this major affordable housing crisis. We've got a deficit of 1.5 million houses for people in the domestic U.S. right now. And I think modular is really a great solution for that. I think that, we are prefabbing these, in our current timeline, we're building our homes in 150 days, and we're installing them on site in 2 weeks, basically. So we're fully finishing them in the factory, and it's really fun to go do the manufacturing tour. I'd love to come show you guys kind of what we're doing down there.
Yeah.
And it gives you this innate ability to have quality control over everything in a really contained environment. So you don't have to worry with snow or rain or any of those different functionalities. And it also enables us to build a superior product. We can build truly sustainable products to meet or exceed LEED certification standards, really do high-level insulation and double or triple pane kind of options for something like that. I'm a bit of a sustainability freak, so I really like building these great sustainability features into this. So not only do we have a fast solution for a lot of these different kind of problems that we're facing, but we also have a very sustainable problem. We look at the trash that's going into trash dumps around the world today, 34% of the waste that goes into the trash dumps is coming from the construction industry. And in our manufacturing process, we shave it down to 10% waste on each one of our different products. So we really can build in a much more clean and environmentally friendly way to boot, which I think is really important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys are getting a few birds with one stone with this one.
Yeah.
Because, throughout my life, not ashamed, if we were going to go out in the woods and have a fire, you just find some housing development. And then you peer into the garbage bins and dumpsters, and there's steel and concrete and wood
Oh, yeah.
and like a lot of it.
A
Right.
lot of it. Yeah. It's a big problem.
A lot that could have been recycled
Uh-huh.
first,
Yep.
but you're like, well, they're always complaining about margins. Half your margins are in this dumpster.
Absolutely.
By the way, it's just going to the landfill.
Yeah.
Not good.
Mm.
So you guys, I assume your waste is minuscule compared to a normal build.
Absolutely. As we fabricate, we get better and better at cutting waste off of each one of these. We know, like, per square foot exactly what we need to be able to repeat these from an interior and exterior component. And it's just going to enable us to really get down to almost a no waste build on a lot of these different projects, which I think is absolutely paramount for the next generation and for the housing industry in general. I think, modular is just a really good solution for that, for a lot of the problems we face in the housing industry and construction in general.
Yeah.
And it's great when you can centralize all of your products coming into one facility, put them all there, and have those crews kind of doing the same thing over and over again, and you get to a much more high quality product at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. If you ever watch like This Old House, they'll go to houses that are 100, 130 years old, and they did not waste anything.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
The building might not be certified for an earthquake, but they did not waste a single thing.
Yeah.
No nail, they were reusing wood. Obviously got away from that. But you guys are getting back to like how the old timers would have done it, like waste not, want not.
Yeah, I think, there's some really interesting aspects about this. One of the reasons why I did this was, I traditionally come from the tech industry. I've been on a couple of podcasts before. I was a venture capitalist for 5 years and did 100 investments in early phase tech companies in Utah and really enjoyed that process. But I felt like there was something missing from my life at the end of the day, and the ones and zeros just weren't doing it for me. I really wanted to do something that was incredibly tangible from a product perspective. And so I ended up kind of looking for a big market that really was ripe for disruption. And I think that is the construction industry. We really have not made a lot of evolutions in the construction industry since the 1920s. We're still banging nails into wood, and we've been doing it for almost 100 years now. And I think it's time for an evolution, technological evolution of how we build, how we do construction, and how we minimize waste and improve the quality of the homes and the space use of the homes on the inside as well. I mean, not everybody needs a 5,000 square foot home. At the end of the day, I think if you meticulously design your home, I think you can get a much better use case scenario out of it. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is indoor-outdoor living. So we've got big slider systems, big sliding window systems. So on our 960, we've got a 24-foot slider opening on something like that, which really enables indoor-outdoor living, especially when the temperature is right. Something I'm super passionate about. I like to live indoor-outdoor when at all possible and still maintain that connection to nature.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We were talking a little bit before, and I looked at a bush outside of the office, and I could easily just live there, a nice tarp. But most people don't want that. But once I'm home, I'm immediately going outside.
Yeah.
To play with the kids, to wander around. It's just so much better than being inside. And, like buildings that, whether they got lucky and they built it the right way, where it's just like you feel like you're in both, are great. I think it adds a lot of value to a life, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think it's a critical component of life. And you're talking to somebody who bought a 40-acre farm and planted 2 acres of flowers around the house. And so that's I live on a Christmas tree farm in Oregon most of the time. So
there you go.
And I have a good balance between tech and development at the same time. So I think it's a unique challenge to maintain that balance in your life.
Yeah. So, in a true, entrepreneurial and venture capitalist mindset, um, you went, total addressable market. Margins are probably good. The business is there. Plus, you enjoy it.
I love it.
So that's a cherry on the top. Um, so you mentioned a few of the use cases. One could be the offices that don't require permits or anything like that.
Yeah.
You could theoretically, have a nice lot and a small house, and your parents might be at that age where we're going to put them in an old folks home. No, we have enough space. We can build one of these or buy one of these stack homes. Problem solved, right?
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. I mean, we look at density in a lot of different ways, and I think you look at downtown Salt Lake City, they still have relatively large lots. A lot of people want to generate some rental income, whether it be Airbnb rental income or long run income for something like that. We actually just installed a 640 square foot ADU in the backyard, and those people are moving out of their 2,000 square foot home into the 640 and renting their 2,000 square foot home actually.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of kind of like downtown density plays. We do a lot of second homes in remote areas. So where you don't traditionally have a lot of good construction, good labor crews in those areas, they're very busy and hard to source. And so we're able to bring in homes and drop those homes really efficiently. I think the multifamily solution is a really good solution as well because, you don't have to, especially in places like Jackson or Wyoming, Montana, Oregon, different places, we're going to face more challenges from a weather standpoint. We can really build these in the factories and drop those on site in a short period of time. And so, again, I think you've got the ADU play, we've got the custom home play where we can take each one of those modules and put them together with breezeways and attachments. So we've got this really cool idea that I think is really interesting, which is the forever home concept. You could start with a 960 basically, and that's your footprint when you're younger basically. And then say you become a little bit more successful, you can add a breezeway and add our 480 square foot master suite with built-in closet with massive closets and different components like that. So it can scale to your lifestyle. And you don't necessarily have to sell that piece of real estate. You can further develop it to meet your needs or your family needs from that perspective. And I think it's a really unique idea that I think, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it unfolds over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. So the typical process, let's say somebody goes to the website. I'm sure there's a form there. Contact us.
Of course.
Um, have a consultation, hop on a call. It's not like the traditional home where you're like picking out carpet and shades and all of that. You're still picking out what you'd like to a certain point, but it's you mentioned minimalist.
Yeah.
So that part goes quicker. Write the check. I don't know how you do all of that, but then boom, they get put in an assembly line, basically, like first come, first serve, right?
Yeah, we're pretty much a white glove service, basically. So people come in, we're partnered with Caldwell Banker. So we've got real estate agents. We've got a model home in downtown Salt Lake City right now, and we're going to put one up in Jackson Hole this next year. And so we're also installing in a myriad of different states. So we're installing currently in Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, Oregon, and Washington, which is really unique. But when we look at the overall kind of buying process, somebody comes in, we typically do a tour of the model home. We like to tour people through the manufacturing facility where you can see them building out the steel frames from start all the way to full scale completion. And then we typically have cart apart homes ready to ship out. We're installing a home about every 15 days, which is really cool right now. And when they come in, we send somebody out. We do a site visit on your property. We take a look at it, take the measurements, take the setbacks, make sure we know exactly what we can put on that piece of property. And then we typically do some discovery calls with you to figure out what's going to fit the best needs for you. Our permitting team handles all the permitting. We go straight into manufacturing and we build that home for you in sub 150 days and then install it on site in about 2 weeks, get the occupancy permit, and you move right in.
Yeah. So you could actually forecast, like we want mom and dad living with us by July.
Yeah.
you could forecast pretty accurately. Is that doable?
Yeah, we just did one in Tahoe where they're like, we're gonna have a family gathering by August. It has to be done by August. It's like, no problem, we can get that done.
Yeah.
And we've got very specific timelines kind of identified to that entire process. So, I think there's a couple things that are really unique about prefab is we can really stay on top of cost control. So you're not going to see kind of the cost scope of your project get out of control, which I think happens pretty often in a lot of custom structural builds on something like that. And we know a really defined timeline. We actually have a lot of our customers in, and they kind of get to see their home through different stages of the manufacturing process. So it's a really interesting process to watch and see.
Yeah.
Super satisfying.
And, I did one big construction project and took too long, and it was too expensive than what we originally thought.
Yeah.
Recurring theme there. But I've had a few friends that they're waiting on the cabinets.
Yep.
Everything else went swimmingly. No cabinets.
Of
They always get
course.
snuck. They always get stuck on the cabinets. Others get stuck in all other places, but and then it's always like, damn it, I wish I wouldn't have picked those ornate cabinets.
Supply chain is super fascinating, right? Over the last couple of years, we've had a really big disruptor to the supply chain, and traditionally, the construction industry hasn't really worried that much about the supply chain. They've just been able to go pick it up when they needed it. And
Yeah.
now you got windows 12 weeks out, you got cabinets out. Windows and doors can be the bane of your existence when building some of these homes on site now.
Yep.
And so we're able to kind of adapt to that supply chain. When kind of COVID happened, we brought in a supply chain team to really focus on that supply chain and make sure that we had inventory and cost controls on our supply chain process, which typical construction companies aren't set up quite like that to be able to handle that. So we were able to just kind of be a little bit more nimble when it comes down to some of the supply chain issues.
Yeah. And so you guys have the prices on your website, right?
Yeah.
So if a deal is struck and there's calamities that don't affect the customer, they affect you, I assume you're not going to pass those on to the customers like what might have happened in the old
Yeah,
way.
I really try to stick to that price point. I think at the end of the day, the only kind of variable cost that goes into something like this is if we've got to bring in like, a 55-ton crane or something like that. We have to crane it a farther distance or something like that than we might see, but our cost control is really finite on a lot of our projects, and so it really enables you to have that peace of mind knowing what you're purchasing and knowing what you're going to pay for it. And I stand behind my product from that perspective. So there's definitely a couple in the early days of the company that I ate my shorts on, but I think that that's part of being a CEO is standing behind your word and sticking to your price point on some of those different components as well.
Yeah. Henry Ford would probably agree on that
Yeah, no, absolutely.
style.
Yep.
All right. So, I got this cool fintech software idea. As we all know, it's never been easier and cheaper. Like, all right, I'll get a server on AWS. Developers not in America, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You can do it. With you guys, it does require raw materials, and you need your own facility with 4 walls and a roof.
Of course.
How do you go about like shifting gears from like funding this, growing this? It's obviously a different growth cycle, probably different margins. How did you transition from your previous life into this?
Yeah, so it was a really interesting transition, really going from venture capital into a totally product-oriented type of a company. And so I raised about 550 from my personal kind of family office, and I custom designed each one of these different homes. So I actually had my fingers in it and all of the selections on the inside of it. I'm really incredibly passionate about the product, so helped to look at all of the sustainability factors we could build in and research all the HVAC systems and the most effective way to heat and cool your home and the mechanics of those homes. And then we designed in our mind what we thought was the best use of space on the inside of these homes and what we could really put in them to make them perfect. So I raised that capital, and then this last year I took about another $1 million capital from 2 other major developers who are great advisors to the company. They've done a lot of big development projects, so it's been really fun to have them on the team. and we're able to partner with some great groups. So we've partnered with Coldwell Banker from a sales perspective. We partnered with Intercap and created a specialized financial instrument, which has traditionally been one of the problems you face in additional dwelling units or modular construction. And so we partnered with them in order to provide a great financial tool for this, so you can get loans on all these different kind of components. And then we partnered with a couple different manufacturing facilities that kind of specialize in steel frame buildings. So one of those is EcoBox in downtown Salt Lake City. They've built the largest steel frame modular building in the domestic U.S. And so we've been able to retool and refine their manufacturing process and build it in-house. And we're at about max capacity on that as well. So I think we'll start looking at really expanding our manufacturing, and we've got some good manufacturing sources in other locations as well. So I think that we've been able to I really have used a partnership-based approach on this to fulfill the different needs and have experts in each one of the different segments of the company to really, try and take a big chunk out of a market that again is really ripe for disruption.
Yeah. As long as people like a roof over their heads.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, everybody wants a roof over their heads, and I think that that's the problem with the affordable housing crisis, right? Is we've got a huge deficit of housing, and I think, right now we're affordable in some places and not quite as affordable in other places. It really is very dependent on where you live. You look at places like Jackson Hole, you're building a stick-built property, it's going at $800 a square foot at minimum. We're typically going out at about $300 to $300 per square foot right now, and so you're making almost 3 times your money on an install in some of those locations. And I think we tend to meet that stick-built price in a lot of places like Salt Lake City. So you have the same type of price point per square foot, but I think we have a really great product that is really well designed and has been really thought out for each one of the functionalities of our homes.
Yeah. You've probably had a lot of these conversations over the years, but I've had friends put in, nice sheds.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, cool shed. Don't tell anyone. Clearly, they did not follow the rules.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, I have this mother-in-law apartment. Don't tell anyone.
Uh-huh.
Right. So whether it's Uber, Airbnb, or some of these others, at some point they had to plow into, municipal regulations or even state. So 10, 15 years ago, you probably would have had to spend some time doing that.
Oh yeah.
But I think that logjam's been cleared a little, right, for ADUs?
Yeah, I think, it's still a bit of a challenging market. ADUs are definitely kind of newer, and I think still a lot of the regulations, they're still learning exactly how to handle ADUs. And so we've been able to work with Salt Lake City and a lot of different counties to kind of improve that process, and we typically do work with them on that. We've broken a lot of precedents in Idaho and Wyoming and different installations as far as some of those places, and been able to work with some of those regulations too. So it's really great to see kind of some of those places opening up to a different type of housing, a much faster type of housing, and especially these places that just don't have a big construction force, right? You just don't have a lot of workers that can live there affordably in many of these locations. And so we're a perfect solution for a lot of those different locations as well.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you're clearly excited and
So
passionate
excited.
about it. And
Yeah.
it kind of checks all the boxes, right? It's 2022. We need to build more sustainably. There's still plenty of pockets, right? Even in a suburban neighborhood. And you get the people that hate high density. You get the people that love it.
Yeah.
You get the people that like housing should be free for everyone. I mean, we sit where all these opinions are, and you guys and your team are coming up with solutions. So we're gonna have some good B-roll, and yeah, next time we hop on this, we'll go to the manufacturing plant, because that is efficiency, right?
Oh yeah.
People like seeing that.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to tour you guys to the manufacturing facility. We do tours on a regular basis, and it's awesome to see how these things go from standard steel frame all the way through the manufacturing process. And our customers really get to see what we put on the inside of these builds as well. So it's a fun process to take them to. I love walking people to the manufacturing facility.
Oh yeah, good for you. All right, congrats to you and your team. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, and we'll be looking for some of these to pop up in our local neighborhoods. And it's always fun to see stuff happen after somebody comes on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll be happy to give you guys some updates, and I really appreciate you taking the time to have us on the podcast today. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you, Garrett.
All right. Thanks, Sumner. Appreciate it.
Thank you.